So what I thought I would do for this next video is just run through a quick list of some of the main businesses that I've started and lessons that I learned, maybe one or two key lessons from each. I made a quick list here as I was getting ready for this video. And yeah, this is actually a fun exercise for myself. Many of these businesses I just walked away from, not because they weren't good ideas or that they weren't working. It was just a personal decision. And others of them just flat out failed. Can I help you? My son's here and he thinks that he runs the house. He's 1.5. So my first business, I was in the music industry. I grew up essentially in the music industry. I was a young teenager and was a musician. Started as an artist, recorded my own, wrote and recorded my own album, and then went on the road and toured and got on the radio and so made my money from album sales, digital, but a lot of stuff was still in CDs, and then. Just performances, ticket sales and performances. And so I was really young. I stopped by the time I was 21, 22. So most of this I was a teenager for. And I think the biggest lesson was I didn't do a good job. I see this a lot when people are young and when they're in the artistic kind of industries. I didn't do a good job of separating the art from the business side. And the primary difference is, look, the business side, at the end of the day, you have to pay the bills, you have to show a profit, otherwise you're failing. And on the artistic side, that isn't necessarily the case. Obviously they interlace and they work with each other, but depending on your kind of personality and what you're interested in, it's very easy to focus on one and let the other one go. And I think that's why most artists have managers. And I would, looking back, say I absolutely should have had a manager. Didn't make any sense. For example, I did a West Coast tour when I was 21, I think right before I stopped, and I organized everything from calling the venues to organizing everything, organizing the show. Again, I wrote most of the music. I was making the set list. I was calling the musicians that I wanted to come with me. I was selling tickets. I was doing it, booking the flights, the logistics, the hotels. I did literally everything. The only person I had was I had a PR person who was wonderful. Shout out to Tracy. And she was great, but I pretty much did everything myself. There was no reason to do that. And so that brings me to my lesson, which is you got to have tight admin. It doesn't have to be you if that's not your strength. It's not mine. But someone's got to dot the T's or dot the I's, cross the T's and dot the I's. Someone's got to take care of the details, the little logistical emails back and forth, the double checking flights and things. We missed flights and it was a disaster. Someone's got to be there to do those kind of logistical things, or everything else is going to fall apart. And I lost a good amount of personal money and took on some personal debt that could have been avoided because I just was not tightly running things. I wasn't organized. Next, I was selling essentially like household goods as like an independent distributor. And this was one of the harder things I've ever done, and it probably taught me the most in many ways, just how to directly talk to people, how to talk to strangers, how to do cold sales to someone, as whether it's a cold call or in person, on the phone or in person. A huge skill that I think anyone that's an entrepreneur or has any entrepreneurial aspirations should do some of, even if it's just to overcome your fears. Almost everyone's naturally afraid of rejection, and if you can overcome that, which you can simply just by doing it, life gets easier. And life in business gets easier. Life in general gets easier. Last thing I'll say about that is anyone who's done any kind of direct sales knows that, look, hiding behind texts and emails is just essentially a waste of time. It's a tool. You might be able to use it for some follow-ups here or there, but you're really just avoiding a conversation. You should get on the phone or knock on their door, on their office door, and get in front of them physically or as close to physically as you can and get a straight yes or no. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. Next, we had a food and beverage business. It was health beverages, non-alcoholic, and we were doing everything. We produced the product, so we were manufacturing, we were distributing, we were doing the marketing ourselves. I was doing all the marketing and branding, and then actually, distributing and working with the retailers as well as selling direct to customer, the whole thing. My big lesson, as you can probably tell from the way I introduced that, is don't do it all. That doesn't make any sense. I'll tell you the reason why, and I see people fall into this trap. When you get into that position and you're looking at a product and saying, okay, this is a product I can sell, people are willing to buy it, I've proved that, which I did, and now you're thinking, okay, this sells for X, I want to keep as much of X as humanly possible, and that's why everyone starts talking about DTC, direct to customer, and all these things, because really their usual motivation is, well, I don't want to pay a distributor, I don't want to have to sell wholesale, and then someone else is going to take my retail margin. Why don't I keep all that margin for myself? And there you go. That's a good business decision, right? Because I'm bringing in more money per sale. Well, but usually you're sacrificing sales, your volume of sales. And I definitely was. What I should have done looking back, I knew I had a product that people wanted. It was selling anywhere I put it. So what I really should have done is just focused. I should have found a really good distributor, taken a couple months, done due diligence, met with all the top distributors in my area, signed a contract, a distribution contract, and then just focused on my manufacturing, focused on my online marketing, and just primed the pump and let them go and deal with the retailers, because I had all my time ended up getting sucked away by managing the distribution and managing my retailers, which was pointless, really. And we ended up shutting that business down once COVID happened. It just felt not worth it to fight to keep it alive. And that was the first business. We raised money, had money from angel investors, raised external money, I should say. So we had angel investors who got paid back with a profit, I will say. I lost a bit of personal money, but nothing crazy. But it was a great experience. So I would say when you have, especially when you got a product that you know that works, just in general, focus on revenue. Just increase revenue, increase sales. Forget about margin. You can always claw back margin later. You can hire some MBA accountant to help you go through your whole sales chain and claw back margin at every step. How you can decrease manufacturing costs and renegotiate your distribution contracts and market better and all these things, or maybe raise your prices, whatever. That can all happen later. If you've got a product that's selling, just focus on more sales, because that will give you the money that you can then use to go and hire the people to fix the other problems. If you focus on the opposite, if you focus on just trying to keep all your margin, you're essentially just choking your own business. But it's really tempting. It's emotionally tempting, because you feel like you're, what are you saying bye? You feel like you're leaving money on the table if you don't try to maximize that margin. Okay, say bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Yes, bye-bye. The next business I did was a healthcare roll-up. Never really got off the ground. We had an incredible team that I had put together. I shut it down right before we were about to buy something, so I can't really call it a roll-up since we didn't buy anything. My biggest lesson there, aside from, this was the first time I really focused on team in the beginning. You hear some of these mega entrepreneurs talk about just get the best people on your bus possible, and I found that to be incredibly true. I started with a really big vision. This was the first business that I started, and really said, okay, from the beginning, this is going to be a mega business. This is going to be something we sell to a strategic or take public in 5 to 10 years. And here's the vision, and here's the market potential. So based on that, if we just got this small percentage of the market, here's how big the company could be, and it was a big number. So based on that vision and my ability to sell it with some amount of enthusiasm, I was able to attract a killer group of people to be co-founders. Now that alone was such a big lesson because it's almost counterintuitive. If you didn't come from an entrepreneurial family, and I didn't, the idea that starting a big business could be easier than starting a small business isn't very intuitive, but I found that to be the case because when you're going after being a big business, you've got an exciting vision that people can get behind, and it's just easier to get people on your bus. Because they can see the end of the rainbow. There's something in it for them potentially. Whereas if I'm just trying to start a lifestyle business that's gonna, turn over 3-4 million and put $1 million of profit in our pockets at the end of the year, I mean that's something, but it's not the kind of thing that you're gonna get world-class people excited about. So maybe that comes off as arrogant or something, but I've found that to be the case. It's in many ways easier. And then the last thing with that business that I really learned, and this is why I ended up shutting it down, was just I had some personal family issues that I couldn't ignore, and I couldn't dedicate the time that I needed to keep that thing afloat. When you're in the beginning of any business, even with the big vision and the team and all these things going in the right direction, you are really it. You're the asset in the beginning as the entrepreneur. And if you can't show up and be that driving force, things are going to start falling apart. And so even with the best plan and execution and all those stuff, with the best plan, if something happens to you as the asset and you can no longer execute, that plan's pretty worthless. Look, things happen, emergencies happen, so nobody can tell the future. You can't plan for every contingency, but there's things you can do in your life, the way you organize your life, to make sure that you're as stable as possible, so that you can really focus on putting your plans in place. All right, and the last thing, just kind of random, just from some random side projects I've done, and just as a last thought. It's very easy to focus on the wrong thing when you're starting up because there's so many things. Everything needs to be done. Nothing's there. You're starting with an idea or a blank page. You create an idea, and now you're going to wrap a business around this product or service. I've spent so much time, especially if you're excited about business like I am and excited about creating something new in a team. It's so easy to just, especially if you've got a partner or something, it's so easy to just get all excited and talk about all these different ideas. I've spent weeks and months planning to the T some way we're going to market this new thing, some marketing campaign and branding images and all these different things, just to find out 3 months later that it really was a horrible product and no one wanted it. So keep the first thing first. If you need to prove viability by first just trying to sell the thing, just do that and forget about everything else and let it be ugly and let it be whatever until you can just prove to yourself that, okay, this is a viable idea, and you can go back and start improving things. If the first thing you need to do is go and raise a bunch of money, you need to do that first, or build a certain team, get a certain person on board. Nothing else should matter until you get these core things in place. Whatever you need to kind of prove viability, that's what should take up all your time in the beginning, because it's just, even though it's fun for those of us that like thinking about these things, it's a waste of time to go about planning all the details of some business that doesn't even exist yet. Go and get the thing into existence, prove that it's viable, and then figure out the details as you go. All right, that's it. Say goodbye. Bye-bye. God bless you. Bye-bye. You want a pen? Take a pen.